Hello, this is Brother Chooch, your Rapture reporter, with TOL late breaking news. There has been a very significant event that happened today, which I believe is very clearly related to Bible prophecy. President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu had a press conference on the meeting that they had together. And I would like to read you some excerpts from this press conference that I believe are very applicable to possibly the covenant that is mentioned in Daniel chapter 9. Notice the language that is used in this press conference. I'm going to read you direct quotes from both Trump and Netanyahu. This is from what Trump said at this press conference, and I quote, "Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. The whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. So today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran trade, the expansion of Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza. But it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East. And let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East." Do you hear that language, guys? Not only is it peace in the Middle East, let's call it eternal. Why did President Trump use those words, eternal peace in the Middle East? Who do we know is the only one who could truly bring eternal peace in the Middle East? Now, I'm not saying that Trump is the Antichrist, but this language is definitely alarming. It doesn't stop there, though. Later on, he says in the conference, this is again a quote from President Trump, "We can bring an end to death and destruction that we've seen for so many decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region." We know that 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 speaks of when they say peace and security. We've been hearing that a lot in the UN when they got together last week, and the different leaders of various countries use that terminology: peace and safety, peace and security. Trump here uses it in reverse order, but it's still there: security and peace. And he adds in prosperity. As we continue to look at some of the quotes that President Trump said, here's another thing to consider. Again, try to view this in light of biblical prophecy and see the connections. Donald Trump said the tyranny of terror has to end. And this is, again, something that we're looking for. This is eternity. This is forever. To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for a creation of a new international oversight body. It's called the Board of Peace. We call it the Board of Peace. Sort of a beautiful name. The Board of Peace. which will be headed not at my request. Believe me, I'm very busy. But we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this. So it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want. Some extra work to do. But it's important that I'm willing to do it and we'll do it right. And we're going to put leaders, listen to this, put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders. And we'll have a board. And one of the people that wants to be on the board is UK former Prime Minister Tony Blair. Good man, very good man. And some others, and they'll be named over the next few days. It'll be quite the board working. Everybody wants to be on it now. Could this possibly be referring to the 10 kings or the 10 horns of this beast that is spoken of in the book of Revelation? Is the possibility of these various world leaders, could they actually, in this quote unquote board of peace, be the ones that John was shown in the book of Revelation? And what part does Trump play in this? Is Trump establishing this so a little horn could rise later and then uproot 3 of the original ones? We're not sure, but it definitely has the flavor and feel of the end time beast governing system. We go on. Here's another quote from President Trump. Prime Minister Netanyahu is very clear about this opposition to a Palestinian state, and he continuously mentions October 7th. And I understand that most people do, and I understand and respect his position on many things. But what he's doing today is so good for Israel. I noticed that they have large crowds gathering in Israel all the time, and they have my name up. Again, this is President Trump speaking. They like me for whatever reason. BB, I don't know, but they do like me. So he acknowledges that Netanyahu is not for a Palestinian state. Trump doesn't say he backs that up. He doesn't say he's against that. But I find it interesting that Trump kind of brings up the fact that Israelis, for the most part, like him, speak well of him, think favorably of him. And understandably, because he indeed has done a lot for Israel over the years. I'm not done with quotes that are interesting to consider. Later on in the conference, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke, and he said, "And Mr. President, you and I both know, it's not even close. While you focus at home on making America great again, your leadership abroad is changing the world for the better, ending wars and advancing peace. Keep in mind that peace, the speaking of peace, is a big thing when it comes to the end times." Netanyahu goes on to say, "I appreciate your willingness to lead the body. Mr. President, I really appreciate, because you have a lot of things to do, and this is important, and it reflects the confidence that this will give everyone. The things that will be followed up on all the commitments made, the fact that you're taking this on, I think it helps a lot to make sure that everything flows in the direction that we want. Now, if this international body succeeds, we will have permanently ended the war." You see, the trust that Netanyahu has in President Trump's is palatable. It's tangible. And he is commending President Trump for taking this position of leadership and the trust that he has in him. He goes on to say, I think it can be a new beginning for the entire region. Under your leadership, we can re-energize. I've got to contribute my own. We can re-energize the Abraham Accords. That's what it's called in the original Hebrew, Abraham. Abraham is fine. Abraham, however you want to call it, under your leadership, Mr. President, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords, and we forged 5 years ago. We can expand them to more Arab and Muslim nations that choose moderation over extremism. I think there's an opportunity here. It's not going to be easy. It's tough going, but I think if we succeed, you're absolutely right. We're going to open possibilities that nobody ever dreamed of. But I think we dream of them. Do you see what's being spoke here? The Abraham Accords seems to be the vehicle that both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu believe could be the solution for long-lasting peace in the Middle East. Now, we're going back to President Trump. He says, so we'll see how this works out. But this is something that was really historic today. This was something that was amazing. I think, BB, depending on you, I think while we're waiting for signatures, notice that, while we're waiting for signatures and waiting for approvals from a lot of different countries that are involved in this, we probably shouldn't take questions. Okay, this is towards the end of the conference. So this sounds like it possibly could be the covenant that will be confirmed or strengthened with the many. They're waiting on signatures. That means that Netanyahu and President Trump didn't sign anything. This can all be plopped in the near future in the lap of the Antichrist. But the very fact that this came out and the language that is being used, like eternal, everlasting, is concerning. Definitely something that we need to monitor in these last days. Don't get distracted. Focus on what the Bible's saying and see how it's lining up with the news that is coming out on a regular basis. This is Brother Chooch reporting for TOL Breaking News. Understand that at TOL, when we get breaking news, this is your channel to get what is related prophetically. Thank you for tuning in.